The advice I give is none that's clinical. If you're experiencing anything like suicidal thoughts, you should seek professional help. And, my video is just my anecdote. It's nothing I studied, nothing I researched. It's just what I've experienced and how that particular feeling related to me through Adderall. So it's really a specific situation, but you may be experiencing it as well. And you might not have someone with that specific situation talking to you about it. Okay, I'm here in the woods. It's pretty fun. That's a different thing, though. I'm here to talk. My name is R.L. Kramer. I have a YouTube channel. I do a lot of things, but I make a lot of videos that seem to get people's attention are the ones where I talk candidly about my experience with Adderall and my knowledge about the addiction to it and the process I went through in quitting Adderall. And this is the first in a series of videos that I'd like to make called The Dark Side of Adderall. Now, where I'll go through different side effects of Adderall use and Adderall withdrawal and talk about what I learned going through those things. So if anyone's going through those things, they can have someone to talk to about it, because it can be pretty private, so I know how valuable somebody speaking to you about it could be. So if you're in that category of person, you take Adderall, you struggle with Adderall, or you're just generally curious, then I would love for you to subscribe and stay tuned for the series. That being said, this episode starts pretty dark, or rather I shouldn't say dark, but heavy, or it's pretty serious, because it's life and death. So I guess content warning, trigger warning for anybody that's uncomfortable with descriptions of suicide. That's what I'm going to be talking about here. So the first time I personally contemplated the idea of suicide, I was in 4th grade. I was 9 years old. And maybe it was from the music I listened to, or maybe it was from, I don't know what. But I was taking Adderall at the time. And every day, I'd take Adderall in the morning. I was 9. And then, I wouldn't eat because I was on Adderall at lunchtime. So then I come home tired from the withdrawal of Adderall, and I'd usually go take a nap or just be mopey, and I started having suicidal thoughts. I went away. I stopped taking Adderall in 7th grade. I never had those kinds of thoughts. I didn't take Adderall. Then I took dextroamphetamine, different amphetamine. But nonetheless, so then in high school, I did start taking Adderall again, and I did not struggle with that kind of thing at all. And I didn't struggle with it at all again until I was 22, 23, when I started stopping taking Adderall. And I've been taking Adderall really seriously. So when I stopped, it was a really heavy withdrawal, and I guess not Adderall really seriously. I was taking it a lot. I wasn't abusing it, but I take that back. I abused it on occasion, but typically I did take the recommended dose every day, which is 20 milligrams, time release, and with the option of 10 milligrams salt in the afternoon to keep it going. So, but anyways, when I stopped, I had suicidal ideation. And that's pretty much what I struggled with when I was a child as well. It's no intention of hurting yourself. You never do anything. You never even think of doing anything. However, the idea of dying is constant, and it's so oppressive to the mind. So I would just be doing my thing, depressed and tired, and a thought would just come into my head. This is, as an adult during the withdrawal, where it would just be like, kill yourself. And it's like, what? No, don't say that. I don't want to think about that. And it's just like, yeah, dying. And I don't know if it was because things were so hard and that the solutions were so vague to me at the time, that my mind's solution is like, you can't fix this. You can't get out of this. The only way out is out. And, it's a constant fixing. It's a constant work. And that's at least what I came to. I never once even flirted with the idea of acting upon these self-harming ideas, but they were there. And it took a long time for me to really scrub them out, and I'd be doing my thing, and then all of a sudden I'd have that thought, and I'd keep in mind that I was in a withdrawal. The thought wasn't mine. The thought was my addiction leaving. So I saw that thought as like a guest. I didn't like it, but I was just like, what am I going to do? Not going to do that. No. But the thought kept coming up, and it was really weird. Drug withdrawal is almost is weirder than drugs, because I remember the thought I always had in my mind, it's like, during the withdrawal, there's like this advocate. It's like the devil, the conscious thing. It's like there's the Adderall addict, and then there's the future you trying to be free of the addiction. So the addict was always like, man, this would be easier if we were on Adderall. Man, you should just die. It wasn't always like self-inflicted death, but the idea of death, which is just not productive, would visit. And it made me have to feel like I had to fight, but I knew it was passing. So I knew that, I think a lot of times with these pharmaceutical drugs, when you withdraw and you're in this bad place, there's the assumption that that's who you really are, and that the drug was the parachute keeping you from landing into this true self. But it's not your true self yet. It's still, the drug is still there. It's still lingering. And the effects of itself wanting more of itself to come into you are way worse than the effects, the negative side effects it had when you're taking it regularly. So, in its withdrawal, but I knew that wasn't me. I was studying this stuff and reading up on it, and I was like, this is a withdrawal. I had to know to myself to not take anything this voice said seriously. That this voice was, for lack of a better term, a demon in my mind. So, and eventually it just stopped. But I've noticed at times, like, under stress or under conflict, as like a leftover habit of the mind from the withdrawal, if I'm in a really tough spot, those thoughts like stir back up. So it might not even be the Adderall. It might just be a thought process that comes up sometimes that needs to be worked on. However, the behavior exposing itself to me happened through an Adderall withdrawal. So I do associate that, and I know that I need to be here, and I'm pretty sure you need to be here too. So, if you're having problems like this, like I did, I'm really grateful I survived. What if I didn't approach it that way and I hurt myself, And that's really scary that I even was close to that edge at all. And I'm really grateful I made it. And if you're close to that edge, find help, reach out. I didn't really have the guts to, and I regret that. I think it would have been a lot easier. It was risky for me to try to take on that withdrawal with no support and no help, and with keeping things to myself. So, if you're going through that, therapy or the suicide hotline or something like that, just talk to, or a friend or a loved one, to just let them know you're experiencing that. And they could probably help you, because you can get through it. It's just something to get through. And I think for me, saying that to myself or having those thoughts was a coping mechanism to leave open the option of abortion of my future, because I couldn't handle it, the stress, and take stressful situations one at a time. And I think the symptoms of A.D.D. might just be my response to stress. If I can't handle what's going on, I want to be distracted. I want to be, if what's going on here is too much, I'm gonna fidget. That'll entertain me, from keeping from just honing in on what's actually happening. And but I'm straying off and talking about ADD. But there have been stories too about people who've made that choice in and around their abuse with Adderall. It can have that effect on people. But I think it's once again important to remind that I'm not a doctor or a physician. I should put this in the beginning. I'm not, I think, and I don't think it means I was broken, or I don't think it means you were broken. I think it means you were testing out your ideas and maybe had to make sure that you valued life by considering not doing it. And, I guess this video has been on my mind for like 3-4 weeks. I've been wanting to do it. And I think since then, just by talking about suicidal ideation in my mind, thinking about this video, it's like it almost invites that stuff back. And recently, there was a fellow who took his own life, and it really affected me because I thought a lot about it. He was like in a similar group that I kind of looked up to, and I see myself in him in these ways, even though I don't know him. But I see it, and I thought that's me in another life, and I wish he didn't do it. I see the grief in his friends, and I don't know what he was going through, but I know that a person can justify it to themselves, because people can convince themselves of a lot of things that might not be true and only exist in their mind, which is why I think this kind of thing is important to get out and share and confront it in that way, where you can talk it out with somebody to give you that biofeedback, so you can hear yourself back and process what you're going through. Because you might not see it through gestures or words or things, but people really care about you. There are people I never see and never talk to that I care about them, and I have to remember that too, and know that there are people who care about me, who don't answer my calls or something. It's like people care about you. And I also, when that was all going on with that guy, I saw a post that said, suicide doesn't make your pain go away, it gives it to someone else. And I really felt that, because when this guy took his life, I felt pain. It made me sad, just as a reminder that it can feel like it gets that bad. But it's, I don't know, for me, like, those thoughts were a test of the fortitude of the mind and the spirit to know, to pursue. And in a dark humor kind of way, I thought to myself, okay, if you want to die, you will one day. I guarantee it. But just don't make the process go faster than it has to. Take your time. and that's just that's like dark humor to me, but it's real in the sense that don't do that. And then getting past those times, there were good times, and they were hard to come by, but they did, and they come and they go. That's what it does. And I'm rambling on, but the point I'm just trying to make is, if Adderall is making you have these thoughts, know that it's the Adderall, it's not you. And if it's you, then work on that too. But yeah, it's not guaranteed. Not everyone who has suicidal thoughts is on Adderall. So there's not a direct correlation there. But it's not unusual that the withdrawal of Adderall can make that happen chemically in someone's mind. And if that's happening, my heart goes out to you, and I know you can get through it. I know you can. Anyone can get through it. Just be strong, get help, and stick to it. If you need to take Adderall to save your life, do what you gotta do. But it prolongs the confrontation. I'll close on this. I'd call my withdrawal a confrontation. And there's like a self that I'm not paying attention to. There's a part of me that's there, but it can't come out. I can't relate to it. I can't interact with it because it's shrouded by my drug use. And because my drug use is a personality too. And my drug use takes up the space in my being where this other part goes null and can atrophy like a muscle that's in a cast. So when I stop taking the Adderall, that space opens back up and this sort of deflated balloon that was stored in there can reinflate. And it can push on the other parts of me, and it can be a surprise, and then the parts of me have a dialogue. And it's a confrontation that leads to assimilation, that leads to peace in the self, but it's a piece of yourself that you have to take stock of and bring back in and learn again. And I felt like when I took it, I did Kung Fu because I needed a discipline. I felt like I had to see that there was a part of me that stopped growing when I was 7. Because that's when I started using the drugs. So I had to nurture that 7-year-old and catch him up to being in his 20s. And, maybe that 7-year-old was so frustrated with life that he said, I don't want to live, But I saw that part of me as a child that needed parenting. Now that's what worked for me. And if that doesn't work for you, find something that does, because we love you.